Stay tuned. Coming up next, Classic Conversations looks back at the life and career of Tony Gywnn right here on ESPN Classic.
I'm always thinking about baseball. You can be successful in this game if you just use your head. I want to win. I'm not out here to win. I mean, I've won the individual things. I want to win. I am frustrated sitting here because I got nothing to do. You talk about a kid in the candy store just sitting down and talking about hitting with Ted Williams. 3,000 is a magical number, especially for a contact hitter.
Gwynn waiting to pitch. There's a drive, right center field, base hitter, there it is! Oh, doctor! You can hang a star on that, baby! A star for the ages for Tony Gywnn, number 3,000.
All in all, I think I did okay.
I'm Bob Stevens, and welcome to ESPN Classic's Classic Conversations. Over the next hour, we'll tell you the story of Tony Gwynn's career through his own words. The longtime Padres outfielder is one of the greatest hitters of all time, and we'll look at some of his greatest achievements. The magical number for hitters is 3,000, and in the spring of 1999, it appeared that three legends were going to reach that milestone almost simultaneously: Cal Ripken, Wade Boggs, and Tony Gywnn. Gwynn sat down with Charlie Steiner to discuss his chase of 3,000.
A ground ball off the glove of Bronya, and Gwynn will win it for the Padres.
50 more hits, but who's counting?
Everybody. Everybody. It'll be nice. You know, I make no bones about it. This is something I've thought about my whole career, and would like to get it done and get past it as quick as I can, but the chase to it has been fun, you know, and it hadn't been, not just this year, it's been a 17-year struggle to try to get to this point, but I'll be glad when it's all over with, because, you know, Rockaroo warned me this spring about how tough it could be. And I really wanted to find out about myself, because the only thing similar for me would be like making a run at 400 or having a long hitting streak where you got to deal with this question over and over and over. 3,000 is a magical number, especially for a contact hitter. And with that comes a lot of questions, and you know, I give the same stock answer just about every time. But you know, it's been fun, but I think it's going to get better as we get closer to it, and also I know it's going to be a little bit more tense when we get closer to it.
And there it is. He said he was going to do it, and he does.
Remember the first hit off Sid Manji?
Oh, yeah, line drive left field. Bob Denier was in center field, dove for it, just out of his reach in the gap, left center. Pull into second base. First major league hit, you know, your chest is stuck out. My parents, my wife, my kids are in the stands, and Pete Rose is playing first, trails the play. He looks up at the diamond vision, sees it's my first major league hit. He says, "First major league hit, huh, kid?" I said, "Yes, sir, first major league hit." He says, "Congratulations, don't try to catch me in one night." And that's really when I started thinking about 3,000. And I was thinking, God, would it be great to have a career similar to his? And now you find yourself 50 hits short of 3,000, and 42.56 looks looks a long way away. But you know, who knows?
You and I were talking on the bench yesterday about the race that you have with Ripken and Boggs. You've been following them all these years, and now down the home stretch, you've taken the lead.
Yeah, and you know, it's kind of unfortunate because Ripken's hurt now and he's on the DL, and first time he's been on the DL and forever. And yeah, I haven't been able to check and see how Wade Boggs is doing, but you know, I hadn't seen his name in the paper in the lineup the last couple of days, and so. But for me, yeah, it's important because Wade Boggs really set the standard. You know, when I broke into the game, he was the guy that everybody was chasing, everybody wanted to be like. For us contact hitters, he was the guy. And, you know, I don't know when it was I caught him, but, you know, coming into the year, I was 6 hits ahead of him, you know, and I really wanted to get there first, not taking anything away from Wade, but I think it just kind of magnifies the situation I've been in the National League, and I got to play every day. And so there aren't many opportunities to DH and you know, take a day off. You know, I wanted to get there first, and And, you know, I've gotten off to a good start. I've swung the bat pretty well. And I'm going to keep grinding because, you know, like I said, I want to get there and go past that. You know, people are ready to give me the gold watch once I get to 3,000. You know, I want to keep on going. And so thus far it's been a good start, and hopefully I can keep it going.
On August 5th of 1999, Tony Gwynn and Mark McGwire were on the verge of special milestones. Gwynn was 2 hits away from 3,000. McGwire was 1 homer away from 500. That night, McGwire got his homer off Andy Ashby, but Gwynn got just 1 hit. The next night, August 6th, the Padres were in Montreal, and Gwynn faced Expos pitcher Roy Smith in the top of the first.
Tony Gwynn will be the 22nd man of baseball history to get to 3,000 with his next base hit. Smith is ready. Gwynn waiting to pitch. There's a drive, right center field, base hitter, there it is! Oh, doctor! You can hang a star on that, baby! A star for the ages for Tony Gwynn, number 3,000.
6 years ago today, I got 2,000 on August 6th. And to get 3,000 on August 6th on my mom's birthday is really a special thing for me. And so, as we was hugging, I was telling her, "Happy birthday, Mom. This is for you."
Tony Gwynn did beat Wade Boggs to 3,000 hits, but only by a day. The next night in Tampa, Boggs homered off the Indians' Chris Haney to become the first player ever to hit a home run for his 3,000th hit. Due to injury, Cal Ripken had to wait until 2000 to record hit number 3,000. On April 15th, Cal singled up the middle off Minnesota's Hector Carrasco to join Gwynn and Boggs. In 1984, the baseball world started to take notice of a young outfielder named Tony Gwynn. In just his 2nd full season, Gwynn started to spray balls all over National League parks for base hits. With a look at Gwynn's emergence as one of the game's best young hitters, here's John Gregg in this vintage SportsCenter report.
Much of the San Diego Padres' early season success can be traced to a former college basketball player who just might have one of the best strokes in baseball right now. Tony Gwynn, who was the starting point guard for Smokey Gaines at San Diego State University, is enjoying phenomenal early season success at the plate. Every time you look up, the young Padre outfielder seems to be getting another base hit. Hampered by injuries his first 2 years in the majors, Gwynn, who's hitting 2nd in the lineup behind base-stealing Fred Allen Wiggins, is getting better pitches to hit. And while he's not picking up the pitches any sooner, and the ball's not looking any bigger, everything seems to be falling in.
No, it's not getting any bigger. It's just that I'm getting a lot of good pitches to hit right now, and I'm just hitting them all over the place. I'm not hitting the ball to left, center, and left field like I usually do. Now I'm pulling balls, hitting them in the gaps, and I can't explain it. I just get up there and hit the ball, and I've been able to do that.
Gwynn started the '83 season in the minors following a broken wrist suffered playing winter ball. Coming back from the injury took a while, but he still finished last year with a .302 average. He has continued to hit ever since this season began, and that has just given him more confidence.
Yeah, it does. It does. You feel like when you go up to the plate that you're not going to make an out. If you hit the ball hard, then, you know, chances are you're not. And, you know, I've been hitting the ball fairly hard the last week or so. I got a lot of scratch hits last week, but this week I've been hitting the ball pretty solidly, and it's a great feeling to go up there with a lot of confidence and that you can get on base.
Early season sensations that soon flame out are fairly common in baseball. However, if Tony Gwynn can stay healthy, he has a chance to establish himself as one of the National League's best young hitters. John Gregg for ESPN.
Gwynn also had a very good postseason in 1984. He hit .368 in the NLCS, including the pennant-clinching double in Game 5 against the Cubs. The Padres won the final 3 games of that series to advance to their first World Series. But Gwynn and the Padres lost to the Tigers in 5 games in the Fall Classic. When we return, why Tony Gwynn is a true student of the game, especially when it comes to hitting.
I'm a big believer in it, so I had to go buy it myself. When I first started doing it, it was just a fluke, really.
You're watching our San Diego Marathon showcasing the Chargers, Padres, and Aztecs until 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, right here on ESPN Classic.
Welcome back. Going into the 1989 season, Tony Gwynn was looking for his 3rd straight batting title, and his Padres were trying to get back to the playoffs for the first time since 1984. During the season, Tony Gwynn sat down with Chris Myers to discuss the batting race and what kind of music he liked to listen to on the road.
In the last 5 years, only Wade Boggs has had more hits than you have. You have 3 National League batting titles. In your opinion, what makes a great hitter?
Probably. Well, there's a lot of things, I think. I think makeup is first and foremost.
Mental, physical?
Both. You know, I mean, you have to have some God-given ability to hit a baseball, but you also have to be able to deal with the mental part of it, too. And the mental for players differs from player to player. For me, I just feel like the things that I do before a game are going to help me get mentally prepared to play that night's game. And video, extra hitting off the tee, soft toss. There's a whole bunch of different things.
So preparation
for me, is very important.
So that preparation gives you confidence?
When you're going bad, you don't have any confidence, you know, regardless of who you are.
Really, even you?
Yeah, I don't care who you are. If you hit a rut where you're 0 for 10, 0 for 11, and you really haven't made consistent contact, when you get up there, that confidence level is going to start to drop. And it won't come back until you start hitting the ball hard again.
You study hitting, and it's something you enjoy, and you take it to extremes. You bought a satellite dish, you have a videotape library, you really get into it.
Yeah, well, I've got an extensive library at home now, and I use a satellite. God,
I had to guess
200-300.
Jeez.
I mean, I've got a lot of tapes, and I've tried to keep it as simple as possible. Now I have one tape for each team as far as the hitters go, and sometimes, like now, Sony has been my best friend in this thing. I mean, they've come out with some great inventions, a video Walkman where I can take it on the plane and look at tapes on the plane, and tape games in my hotel room. And when we go to these cities with the super stations, I mean, it's great. I can tape the whole game and then come back and watch it when I get back.
And you never get tired of that?
Well, it gets boring sometimes. I mean, I have to be honest. I've been doing it now for 6 years, so after a while, it gets tiring. And after those 0 for 4 nights, you don't want to come home and look at the bad swings on tape, but it's become a habit to me. I have to come home and at least look at it so I can see what problems I'm having and hopefully be able to correct them the next day.
Not only do you have a big video collection, but you have quite a few jazz albums.
I'm a big jazz fan. We have a great jazz stations here in San Diego to listen to, and they're always handing me CDs of new artists and stuff. And because of all the travel that we do, and I hate to travel, and with all the travel that we do, I have these CDs where I can listen to try to get me in the right frame of mind to playing baseball.
And the music, not a lot of words through most of the jazz, if it's
right.
And so does that help? I don't know. Do you think is there a concentration?
I think yeah, because there aren't any words to a lot of the music that I listen to. It gives you an opportunity to just sit back and think about. I'm always thinking about baseball, especially on the road. I'm always thinking about what I'm going to try to accomplish when I get out there. Because every time I go out on the field, I like to think that I have a pretty good game plan as to how I'm going to try to attack this pitcher. Just like he has one on how he's going to attack me, it's vice versa. I do too. And before I go to the park that day, I'll usually sit down and put my CD player on and listen to some music and start thinking about what I want to do that day.
In baseball, blacks have made great strides in management, coaching, ownership in the major leagues by blacks. Do you think that that's important?
Oh, I think it's important if that's what people want to do. I just don't think that there should be black ownership just because there aren't any. I think people who want to get involved in it should have the opportunity to get involved with it. Like the guys that just bought the Denver Nuggets. They wanted to own a basketball team and decided to actively pursue that. And they got what they wanted. And I'm sure there are other people around the country that want to get involved in baseball as well as football and other sports. And I'm sure they're going to get that opportunity.
I know the company line, it's important to win the games first. But how important is it for you to win another batting title?
It's not as important as it was maybe 5 years ago, I think.
Why is that?
Because once you won one, you've already kind of established yourself as a quality hitter. And in my case, I've won 3 of them. So whenever people get up in the morning and look in the top 10, they expect to find my name there. So winning a batting title, I mean, it would be nice again to win another one. And especially this year with the 3 in a row and the Stan Musial and all of that, it would be nice. But I want to win. I'm not out here to win. I mean, I've won the individual things. I want to win.
Gwynn won his 3rd straight batting title and 4th overall in 1989. Gwynn beat out the Giants' Will Clark by going 6 for 8 in the final series against the Giants to win the title. But Clark and the Giants won the NL West over the Padres. The 2nd-place finish was the best San Diego would have over the next 7 years. In 1995, the Padres were rebuilding. San Diego lost all-stars like Fred McGriff and Gary Sheffield and Tony Fernandez in a cost-cutting move. But Gwynn remained. and he continued to be one of the game's best hitters. He used a video system to aid his mechanics. Gwynn explains this use of technology to Shelley Smith in this Vintage Sports Center report.
To me, the ultimate as a hitter is to be able to get in that batter's box, see the pitcher, let it go, recognize what it is, and put a good swing on it and hit it hard somewhere. And that's what hitting's all about.
Tony Gywnn, arguably the best hitter in baseball today. His stance, his wrists, his swing, along with his determination and preparation, have helped him win 5 National League batting titles. Only 3 others in National League history have won more: Hall of Famer Rogers Hornsby, Stan Musial, and Honus Wagner. Gwynn, a child of the 20th century, admits he's gotten a little high-tech help.
Video has helped me see what guy's ball is going to do when they let it go.
Gwynn bought this video equipment 4 years ago as the then owner of the Padres, Tom Werner, was busy stripping the franchise of its most valuable assets. To Gwynn, it was a way of doing something positive in an atmosphere mired in muck.
I'm a big believer in it, so I had to go buy it myself. When I first started doing it, it was just a fluke, really. My wife and I bought a VCR and a camera to film my son growing up, and I just had a brainstorm one night, why don't you tape the game, because I was struggling at the time, and from that point, I mean, it's gone to carrying 2 video players on the road, to watching games in the hotel room, watching games on TV, and just basically trying to get all the information I can get to help me do what I do up here.
Gwynn says the technology helped him the most last year when he finished the strike-shortened season batting .394, the highest average in the National League since 1930. Not because anything was wrong, but because it served as confirmation that everything was right.
I was locked in, and that's where you want to be. You want to try to get to that point. When you get to that point, then it's about maintaining it. And until you get there, it's lots of this. Lots of sessions sitting in here, pulling out tape, comparing this and that, and until you get it. The weird thing this year is that I feel like I'm just swinging lousy. When I'm swinging good, my front foot is real slow. And I know it's hard for people to understand, but when you're hitting, your feet play an important part as far as how your hands are going to come through the zone when you swing the bat. You just have to work on it. And I can come out in batting practice and be real slow, and my hands will go right across my face the way I want them to, and in the game, it's just like it's a different story. That's what this equipment is for. It's for trying to learn and acquire as much knowledge as you can.
Including advice from the last player to finish a season hitting over 400. Gwynn met Ted Williams a few years ago, but had never spent any real time talking about hitting with him until this past off-season.
So you talk about a kid in the candy store, just sitting there and talking about hitting with Ted Williams, somebody who I, just idolized my whole life. The one thing I really agreed with him with, and we had an animated conversation about this, was handling the ball inside. He says, hey, anybody can go up there and take a ball on their outer half and just block it off the left field, but Major League history is made on the ball inside. And when he was talking about that, he got so animated, and I didn't say a word. I just sat there and looked at him starry-eyed and just, yeah, you're right. You're right. And say to myself, you're right, you're right.
Something else Williams said has given Gwynn focus.
He did tell me, he says, you're the type of hitter who can make a run at 400, and if you ever do, I'll be there to see you do it.
The quest to do just that continues.
From my standpoint, if they throw it over the plate, then I got to hit it. If they don't throw it over the plate, I don't have to swing. And so I try to keep things simple. That's about as simple as it gets.
Tony Gwynn and Ted Williams have developed a friendship over their passion for hitting. They sit down and talk together when we return.
I've said it for 25, 30 years, maybe longer. If the dumbest guys in the ballpark are the pitchers.
When the baseball strike hit in August of 1994, Tony Gwynn had his sights on being the first man since Ted Williams to hit 400. Gwynn was batting .394 and was having a tremendous August, batting .475 that month until the strike hit. During the strike, Gwynn sat down to talk about his feelings on the strike with Tom Friend.
best hitter in baseball today has had to resort to Tebow.
It's all right.
Maybe there is one person rooting for this strike, Ted Williams. Because Tony Gwynn this year was turning baseballs into mashed potatoes. He was seriously on the verge of becoming the first hitter since Williams to hit 400. But to be cheated of the chase, to be on the sidelines now, it's everything Tony Gwynn's against. It all goes back to something Tony's dad said.
Was there one thing of advice he always used to say?
He said, finish what you start. Finish what you start.
This offseason, Tony Gwynn got the proverbial phone call in the middle of the night. His father had passed away.
You know, certain things you could talk about with your dad, you know, and now he was gone. And I had to deal with that. And it took me about a month and a half to kind of gather myself to want to go out there and play, because I seriously thought about just heck with it. You know, I don't need it. You know, quitting? Yeah, I thought about it. I thought about it for about a week. And I know how pissed off my dad would have been if I had just quit, because he hated just quit.
This is the same man who taught Tony at the age of 2 how to hit ropes.
400 is just that magical thing. You know, there's certain things in the game that just have this magic attached to it.
Is this your best shot? Obviously, it's your best shot at it, but I mean, how old are you now?
34.
What do you think?
I think so. I think this is it. If I was meant to do it, this was the year I had to do it.
Now, I'm not saying there's an angel in Tony Gwynn's outfield, but this season has been a dream year.
Did you ever talk about 400 with him?
2 days before he passed, we had this conversation, and it's still fresh in my mind. He said, you know, I still think you can hit 400. I don't know. As consistent as you are, I just feel like you could hit 400. And I really didn't think about it. Even after he passed, I did not think about it again until, like, after the All-Star break. And it was like the day before the strike started. We're in Houston. I'm hitting 390. And the last day, I go 3 for 5. And I'm sitting in my locker kind of with my head. I'm scratching my head. I'm saying, God, I'm hitting 394. You know, maybe Dad was right. Maybe I could hit 400.
He was batting 394 until this guy, Richard Ravitch, did what pitchers couldn't do. Got Tony Gwynn out of there.
You're hitting on the tee. Is that ball Richard Ravitch?
Not to me. You know, I mean, they got to do what they got to do.
I can't put it any more simply than this. Do you feel gypped?
No. I don't. Other people feel like I am, but I don't.
How frustrated are you?
I'm not frustrated at all.
So if next year...
I'm not frustrated. I tell you this, though, okay? I'm not frustrated about the fact to make this run at 400, but I am frustrated sitting here because I got nothing to do. People expect you to feel bitter. I don't, because I've done everything I could do this year.
If Tony Gwynn was going to be bitter, he'd have been bitter when the Padres traded away Fred McGriff and Gary Sheffield. He's not bitter. He's too busy zoning in on his father's advice.
Do you feel like this season there's been somebody on your shoulder, someone looking down on you?
My dad. No question.
And is this the reason why you're fighting 400?
I believe that's why. There's that little bit of him that's inside me saying, you know, you might could hit 400. And I know he's looking down on me saying, see there, boy, I told you you could do it. See there, I told you. And he's telling all his friends, hey, that's my son out there.
And he wants you to finish what you started.
That's exactly right. He wants me to finish it. And I want to finish it, but it's out of my hands. So we just, like we're doing now, we'll sit here and wait, see what happens. But the minute that strike is over, bank on it. I'll be somewhere hitting, somewhere.
The strike wouldn't end until the next spring. The '94 season was canceled in early September, and Gwynn was denied a chance to be the first man since Ted Williams to hit 400. But the 394 average was the highest average in Gwynn's career. In '95, Gwynn hit 368 to win his 6th career batting title, and in '97, Gwynn hit 372 on his way to his 8th career batting crown. 10 years earlier, Gwynn had hit 370 to win his 2nd batting title. Talk about consistency. In every season between '84 and '98 that Gwynn played at least 110 games, he hit over 300. Ted Williams and Tony Gwynn have developed a special relationship over the art of hitting. A couple of San Diego natives, after all. Over the last half of his career, Gwynn has become a disciple of Williams. In 1997, the two legends sat down to talk about hitting.
Nobody's holding him on. And a ground ball off the glove of Bronya, and Gwynn will win it for the Padres.
I still think that as good as you are. Everybody wants to know, is he going to hit 400? I said, well, if there's anybody I got to bet on now, I got to bet on Tony.
I was going to ask you, did you guess a lot?
I guessed all the time.
Did you really?
Look at what I had to go with. First of all, I knew he was a good hitter. Secondly, I know the pitcher's a little afraid of me. Thirdly, he knew he could not get a fastball by me. So I had all of those things on my side.
Well, I'm kind of different. You know, I take exactly what you just said, and the difference for me is that I don't think when I go up to the plate the fear factor's in place, because they know I'm not the type of hitter who's going to, you know.
It's possible that they but I'll tell you what, they're damn sure they're pitching against a good hitter, and they and every year you have, I mean, at least every good year I had, boy, the next year they're pitching just a little tougher, a little different. And now you gotta get yourself regulated to that.
Now, when I go up there and there's nobody on, you know, I'm sure the pitcher is thinking, okay, you know, I'm going to throw this ball around the plate. I know he's going to hit it. I know he's going to get his bat on it.
But the very fact that you say you don't guess, and you're still a hell of a successful hitter, immediately tells me that with 2 strikes, you're a good hitter.
Yeah.
So if you don't get many strikeouts and you don't get many base on balls, you're hitting a lot of pitches he wants you to hit.
That's right, yeah.
And you can do better than that. You can do better than that. I'm so glad that you're such a nice guy, and you are. But I'm also so glad that the people in San Diego just love you. And I think that's great.
It's
you
nice.
bet. I know. I could see it when I was here. Now, I also have to say this, after having a chance to talk to you a little bit. You got a hell of a chance to be a politician. Because you know what to say, but you're smart. You're a smart little guy, and you probably weigh as much as I did when I played. You're not little.
No.
But what do you weigh, 185?
Yeah, I weigh.
What do you weigh?
Well, I weigh exactly what I weighed when I saw you last year. I weighed 227.
You weigh 227?
227.
Holy little Mike. 100. Yeah, everybody thinks you're a little guy.
No, they don't think I'm a little guy.
Well, you look good to me.
But see, it just goes to show you that, you know, you can be successful in this game if you just use your head. You just think it all out before it happens.
All the good players are smarter. All the good players are smarter.
And so, you know.
And just imagine one thing. You always remember this, and it's a good line. And I've said it for 25, 30 years, maybe longer, that the dumbest guys in the ballpark are that pitcher.
No,
Huh?
Well,
remember that one now.
You can think that. You can't say it now.
No.
In 1998, 3 of the best left-handed hitters of all time got together before a Padres-Giants game. Here's Joe Morgan, Tony Gwynn, and Barry Bonds.
He's a machine, and this place has erupted.
I'm not used to seeing you not in the top 5 in the hitting. I'm not used to seeing you on the hitting charts. I mean, you're not in the top 5 in home runs, RBIs. No, you're... Hey, I had to go all the way down to doubles to find you today, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But obviously last year you had one of your best years, and you had another great year, just a slow start.
I'm struggling mechanically myself. Having a lot of trouble hitting the ball the other way. I think my eyeballs are looking in. I'm looking for the ball in, and they just painting fastballs right on the outside corner. Everybody's going to struggle. I'm having my struggles here early this year.
He's in 333, you know what I mean? He's struggling. I understand that for you. I understand that for you. I understand that for you. That's the struggle. But I mean,
260
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I go in April 260.
That's good.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
I mean,
I got
333 struggling, but I mean,
you're never going to get any sympathy when you're in my boat. You know what I'm saying. I mean, mechanically, you know what you have to do, and when you don't do it, you feel like it's a struggle.
If I said it or anybody else said it, I wouldn't understand, but I do understand when you say it. You're the first person other than Ted Williams, who was my hitting instructor in Cincinnati, that talked about looking to the outer half of the plate.
Middle end for me is the pitch they try to get me out of. And so I see a lot of stuff out there, and right now I'm just kind of flicking at it, pecking at it, and then they come middle in, and I roll over, hit my ground ball, or I hit a ball hard and get a base hit. But for me, everything is based on the outside ball, because I feel like the majority of balls I see are going to be out there, and if I handle those, then I can pick my spots to look for that ball inside.
What would be your scouting report on Barry Bonds?
Just don't get him upset. If I'm in a slump, just
leave
keep me alone. Yeah, leave me alone. If I ever get upset, I think the Dodgers broke me up that series when Osuna upset me, and I wasn't swinging it back that good. And I wasn't having a good series coming into them, and they woke me up. Just don't ever wake up that time.
And they might have cost them a division title, right? Because when they came here, you just made them pay for that. My interpretation of you at the plate is when you stride, that I think of you as an upper body hitter with your upper body in your hands.
My problem when I try to use my legs, I do everything, I try to we call it getting too big. We try to do too much. Where when I just get in position with my legs and let my hands do the work, I'm much better.
Do you move around in the batter's box, up, back, or in and out?
No.
You get one spot?
No, I get in one spot. Because when you start moving, now things are going to change.
Right.
And so I'm standing in the same place I stood when I was in high school.
Okay.
Right in the middle of the box, splitting the plate.
Dusty Baker gave you maybe one of the highest compliments that you could get. I mean, he said he'd never seen a hitter know as much about what the pitcher's doing and understand what's going on out there, going through the pitcher's mind as well as you do since Hank Aaron.
Great baseball players study pitchers, Joe.
Right.
Great baseball players sit on the bench like this and they're monitoring the pitchers. They're picking up patterns. They're students of the game.
Right.
And Willie always told me, you have to be a student of this game to become this game. You are never going to be larger than this game.
Right.
I don't care how much knowledge you think you have, it will always come to humble you.
Coming up, Tony Gwynn reflects on some of his childhood memories of going to the ballpark.
Finally, they flash hit on the board. And I must have jumped out of my seat. Yeah, that's a hit. Yeah, it's 28 games now.
Welcome back. Growing up, Tony Gwynn went to Dodger Stadium to watch Major League Baseball. Here's Tony talking about his childhood memories of the games.
My favorite player was Willie Davis. As a kid growing up here in L.A., or in Long Beach, my dad used to drive me and my two brothers out here to Dodger Stadium. We sit out in the pavilion, and then we would come out early for batting practice, and while most kids were focusing in on balls flying in the stands, I watched Willie Davis. Whatever Willie Davis did, I knew. He'd come out, he'd get his extra work, he'd get his extra fly balls, and then he would go in and hit, come back out, shag some fly balls, and I watched him during infield, throwing the ball to third, throwing the ball home, and to me, as a kid, he was just the type of player that I wanted to be like. He could run, he could hit, he could throw, he could do it all. Well, there was one game out here. Willie Davis had about a 27-game hit history, 28 or so, and they were playing the Phillies. And my whole focus that night was hoping Willie got a hit, and he was 0 for 2, and he stepped up. I think it was like the 6th or 7th inning, and he had a ground ball in the hole between first and second, and Dick Allen tried to slide in front of it, and it bounced off his glove and, went through his legs, and he runs through the bag. And for about 2 hitters here, we were all sitting here waiting for the official score to make up his mind, and finally they flash hit on the board. And I must have jumped out of my seat. Yeah, that's a hit. Yeah, it's 28 games now. And that game sticks out with me because, during the whole streak, he was raking. He was hitting balls all over the place. And then you get to this one game where this is the only chance he got to get a hit, and they gave him a hit. Boy, that was a big thrill for me that night.
Tony Gwynn and Cal Ripken have combined for 34 All-Star appearances in their careers. They relive some of their fondest memories of the Midsummer Classic when we return.
I accomplished what my skill set and my ability and my determination allowed me to, and I'm proud of the experience and the mark that I could leave.
Never would have imagined that 20 years ago I'd be standing here 20 years later talking about a career that's lasted this long. Really, I think, surprised myself.
Welcome back. In 2001, Major League Baseball would lose 2 legends to retirement, Cal Ripken and Tony Gwynn. Before their final All-Star game in Seattle, the pair sat down to discuss their memories of the Midsummer Classic with our Tim Kirkjian.
Last All-Star game for both of you guys, most memorable All-Star game for you, Rip?
Toronto. I won the home run contest. I really just wanted to take a nice round of BP, and I was in such a good groove. I hit home runs, and I had a chance to do something in the game and hit a 3-run homer to help our team win 4-1. So Toronto was my memorable moment.
Tony, what about you?
Yeah, the home run he hit went over my head that night, too. And for me, 94. Scoring the winning run in Pittsburgh and beating Cal's relay throw to the plate.
Alvin picked the ball up, threw it to me, and I threw it a perfect throw to the plate, and I swear he was out.
And it touched his glove. He had to come up to catch it, and I snuck my foot in. I barely beat it. From a playing standpoint, that one sticks out the most. But my favorite, I think, is 99 in Boston with the All-Century Club. I mean, you had to be there, or you had to be watching, because when all those All-Century team members converged on the pitching mound with Ted Williams there, I mean, guys were just saying hello, introducing themselves. How you doing? I'm Bob Gibson. I'm Carl Yastrzemski. You know, it was unbelievable, and I'll always remember that. Not so much for, you know, ending up standing on the mound with Ted Williams, but just how electric it was. I mean, I think everybody who was there that night realized that they were seeing something special, and I think all of us walked off the field that night with a tear in our eye, realizing that we had just been a part of a moment that might not happen again in baseball. And so 99 sticks out, too.
Rip, what has dazzled you most about his career?
Just the ease in which he hits. To me, I see hitting sometimes more as a struggle. As you know, I'm famous for changing my stance. I'm always searching to find something to feel good, and I always get jealous when I watch certain hitters just go up there and they probably don't even need to take batting practice. They don't need to do anything else. They just go up there and they flat out hit. And Tony's always been one of those guys. I wish that I had a chance to compete against him a little bit more so I could appreciate that on a daily basis. In our league, it seemed to be Wade Boggs, who just seemed to walk up to the plate and hit 350 without any practice. But when I got a chance to see Tony in some all-star games and just watch the ease and the fluidity of his swing, you know, it's a beautiful thing.
What amazed you most about his career?
For me, I think it's the passion for the game, for, you know, wanting to be out there every day, wanting to play the game the way it's supposed to be played, wanting to do it right. And the things that not only he did on the field, but the things he did off the field. You know, Cal, I think, more than any other player in the 20 years that I played, set the example of how the relationship between the player and the fans, you know, has to exist. Otherwise, this game does not exist. And so many a day you'd see him out there signing autographs. I've seen him do it at all-star games, sit out during the workout, everybody's starting to creep off the field, and stand out there and dealt with the fans the way they should be dealt with. And those things, more than anything, to me, kind of defined who Cal Ripken really is. He was more than just a baseball player, but he was a quality guy, too.
Thanks, fellas.
Alex Rodriguez forced Cal Ripken to play shortstop in the first inning of that game, paying tribute to the man who paved the way for himself, Derek Jeter, and Nomar Garciaparra. Ripken homered in his first at-bat against the Dodgers' Chan-Ho Park on his way to the game's MVP award. Tony Gwynn did not get an at-bat in the game, but both were honored in a mid-game ceremony by Commissioner Bud Selig. 14 years after his last trip to the Fall Classic, Tony Gwynn gets another chance for a title. When we come back, we'll join Tony on a historic tour he took before Game 1 of the '98 World Series.
You're watching our San Diego Marathon, showcasing the Chargers, Padres, and Aztecs until 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, right here on ESPN Classic.
Welcome back. I'm Bob Stevens. 1998 was finally the year for John Elway, who won a Super Bowl, and Dale Earnhardt, who finally won the Daytona 500. With Tony Gwynn and the Padres back in the World Series, Jack Edwards ponders Gwynn's chances at a title.
Tony Gwynn has played 16 Major League seasons. His Padres got pounded by the Tigers in the 1984 World Series. He knows what it is to want.
This feels pretty good. It really feels good. It's been a long wait.
14 years. Back in 1984, Gwynn was in his first full season, establishing excellence around which the Padres could have built a constant contender. He was winning the first of 8 batting titles. But as the Padres spiraled to the bottom of their division just 4 years later, he remained lashed to the mast, voluntarily, the only star who stayed. Gwynn is now the standard, baseball's leading active hitter with a .339 career average. And he has lasted long enough for his team to resurface. He has hit better than 300 for 16 straight seasons, a streak surpassed only by Ty Cobb and Honus Wagner. Gwynn is the toughest player in baseball to strike out, among the easiest to love.
It meant a lot to be able to celebrate with Tony, especially coming back to the World Series. You know, outfielders, we spend a lot of time shagging together, a lot of time talking. We're out there all the time in between pitch and changes. You know, so it was a situation where the outfielders just need to have a moment. We had our moment, then we joined the team.
One of his many endearing attributes is his intense sense of loyalty to the Padres organization. Gwynn has chosen to remain a big fish in small pond San Diego. And no pond loves its fish as San Diego loves its Gwynn. The feeling is mutual.
I'm happiest for the city of San Diego because they've waited a long time, just like I have. And to see the way that they've backed us here in the postseason has been unbelievable. And the fact that, you know, I played in this organization my whole career, you know, I feel today I probably feel more like a fan than I do a player.
The player who is the fan is the last on-field link to the 1984 team. Now closer to the end of his career than the beginning, Gwynn isn't as satisfied with the voyage as much as he is determined to reach the destination.
84, I was just happy to go. And I know now, because I've thought about it for 14 years, that's not how you're supposed to feel. Just going to the World Series was enough. And this time, I'm happy to be going, but I want to win. You know, I want the ring.
In the 1998 World Series, Tony Gwynn got to play in one of the most historic stadiums in baseball. ESPN's Harold Reynolds joins Tony and his son Anthony on their tour of Yankee Stadium.
I'm thinking I want to take in everything. You know, I want to have a good time, and I want to, you know, absorb all the stuff that there is to absorb, but at the same time, it doesn't dawn on me that it's like in the neighborhood, you know, and when we pulled in and you get off and you go down the stairs, you know, if you're like in the thing over, the things going overhead, I was like, hey, we're right here and we're right in the neighborhood. Where the monuments at, on this side over here? You know, it's weird to see all these retired names of all these players that, you know, you read about, but it's even weirder to see guys you played against. Don Mattingly, Reggie Jackson. Jeez, I mean, all the years I've played and never had a chance to come here, and you know, this ballpark had a lot of history. Look at that Padre name on the Yankee scoreboard. I'm like, Padres. I can't believe that this is the regular outfield. This used to be the outfield wall.
That used to be the fence.
Wow. Babe was launching some serious
bombs.
Yeah, no question.
You come into a ballpark like this, a little short porch, it's cramped up here. You kind of think about how you might hit?
I think the same way all the time. And I know when I'm going good, I got to hit the ball right field.
What about in a situation like this in the series where you're seeing guys you haven't really ever faced before?
Yeah, it's kind of like the Houston series where, you know, we faced Randy Johnson twice. I hadn't faced him all that much. This is like the first series where you're facing guys. Wells, I've probably got 3 ABs against. Pettit, never faced before. El Duque.
You know, everybody's making a big thing about, you know, it's been since '84 that you're back to the World Series. What have you learned since that time to now that you might try to apply differently?
Well, I know it's big, you know, especially playing here in New York in the World Series. I realize it's big, but I try to downplay everything. You know, I mean, people are leaning on that, hey, it's good, I'm glad you got there. You know, I want to win, you know. Yeah. And it's, I mean, great. It's great to get here, there's no question, but the object is to win.
Gwynn had 8 hits in 16 at-bats in the '98 World Series, including a Game 1 homer. The Yankees completed their dream season with a World Series sweep of San Diego, but when Gwynn announced his retirement, he spoke fondly of his 2 World Series chances.
It's a great thing, and I was lucky that I was able to experience it 2 times. We fell short 2 times, but so what? You know, I'm just happy. I was just happy to get an opportunity to play in Yankee Stadium. I'm not going to lie, it was one of the greatest experiences.
When we return, a special look at the career of Tony Gwynn and all of his accomplishments on the field.
Once you get out there, you start having success. You just work hard to try to continue to have that same kind of success. Now, obviously, it hadn't gone the way I wanted it to go the last couple of years, but all in all, I think I did okay. I think I did all right.
In an era when athletes are quick to complain about their contracts or about their team losing, Tony Gwynn's been a refreshing exception. Tim Kirkchin takes a look at the career of the 5-time Gold Glove winner and 8-time batting champ.
Tony Gwynn's first hit came in 1982, a double off Sid Manji.
Pete Rose is playing first, trails the play. He looks up at the diamond vision, sees it's my first major league hit. He says, "First major league hit, huh, kid?" I said, "Yes, sir, first major league hit." He says, "Congratulations, don't try to catch me in one night."
No, Gwynn didn't become the all-time hit leader, just the best hitter since Ted Williams. Gwynn won 8 batting titles, only Ty Cobb won more. Including this season, Gwynn has hit 300 for 19 straight years. Only Cobb had a longer stretch. From 1993 through 97, Gwynn batted .368. Williams never hit that high for any 5-year period. Gwynn's career .338 average is the 18th highest of all time, but of that elite group, only he and Williams played after 1938. Gwynn's hits went everywhere, but he especially liked smoking singles between the third baseman and the shortstop. He hit balls off his shoes. He hit pitches at his eyes, but he always hit the ball. In his career, he has struck out 427 times. Sammy Sosa has nearly that many in the last 2.5 years, and Gwynn never struck out more than 40 times in a season. Pat Burrell struck out 36 times in April. Gwynn had 233 3-hit games and 1 3-strikeout game.
He hammers one deep to right field. Way back there. Gone! Gone! Gone!
A grand slam home run for Tony Gwynn.
He grew up in Southern California, played baseball and basketball for San Diego State. He was drafted by the Clippers in 1981, and 20 years for the Padres, but nationally was perhaps unappreciated because he never played for a World Series champion. The last 2 years, he's been ravaged by injuries. Young fans don't remember his 5 Gold Gloves and his 319 steals. Sadly, for his 3,000th hit in Montreal, only 13,540 were there to see it. And in one of the great robberies of this era, the strike of 1994 denied Gwynn a shot at becoming the first 400 hitter since Williams in 1941. Gwynn finished at 394. Still, we'll also remember Tony Gwynn for not being like Williams. Tony Gwynn tipped his cap. He had a special touch with the fans and a respect for the media. We'll remember him for being all that's good about the game. On his final day of the season, he will thank all of us who supported him for the last 20 years. No, Tony, thank you.
Tony Gwynn's legacy carries on at his alma mater, San Diego State. His son, Anthony, hit .318 in his freshman year, and the Aztecs play their home games in Tony Gwynn Stadium. We hope you've enjoyed our trip down memory lane with Tony Gwynn on Classic Conversations. For ESPN Classic, I'm Bob Stevens.